back out on another ride. Today I'm gonna start my sermon ride. Not necessarily a sermon, but it's speaking the word through our area. What God's been showing me lately. Talking a little bit about the sermon that I've been working on the last couple of weeks, and probably finish up this Sunday. We're talking about patience, and I just figured it was really fitting, and during prayer and then thinking about it, someone gave me the idea of this. I was trying to figure out how to put all things together with the motorcycle rides and preaching and working on guitars, and I'm going to try and include all of that in my YouTube videos. Once I get my knee done, I'll be able to start working on guitars again, and maybe if we find something that I can do without too much work, I might even start before then. And then the preaching and prayer, I do a prayer ride every day, and with the camera I figured the prayer to go along with showing the area, so that anyone that wants to pray along with can watch and pray, and also hear a little bit about the Word, about what God is showing us in this area, for this area. And I believe it's for everyone in these days that we need to really have patience. Patience is one of the things that it's really, really hard. It's one of the fruits of the Spirit, yet it's one that is not shown very often by a lot of Christians, that we need to really get our minds and our hearts living properly for God. And we've talked about a lot of different things in the last several months in church, and patience kind of helps put a lot of that together. There's the times when we're just not patient enough for different things to happen, whether it be in our ministries, whether it be in our daily walk, whether it be what we're doing for work or whatever it might be, that we have patience in it. We go shopping, we go in the parking lots, get into stores. These are big areas where we just don't have a lot of patience. And in this first one that I'm going to talk here now, is I'm not going to use any scriptures. I didn't bring them along, and don't really have them in my head right now as far as what they are, because of what the Lord was just having me to just talk about it. And then maybe later I'll post something on my Facebook page about what I'm talking about also, to give you a few scripture references. But that patience being a fruit of the Spirit, we need to walk in it wherever we're at. We can be, one of the reasons why I feel on the bike is there's so many times that the Lord has showed me, and He always shows pastors and preachers things first. Sometimes He brings them through those things first before we preach them. And a lot of that has happened on the motorcycle, where I'll be going along and there'll be someone that'll just be going real slow in front of me, way below the speed limit, and I'll be looking at it, and it's like, you get impatient and you want to go past them. But on the road that I ride here most of the time, there's not a lot of passing zones, and when there is, there's usually traffic on the other side, or we get people that just decide to go a little faster because it's a straightaway, and then you can't really pass, because then you'd be going way over the limit to try and get past a person, unless it's in a real safe area. So what the Lord showed me in that is that, number one, what was my purpose for riding? And He told me a while back that the ride was for a prayer ride. So if it's a prayer ride, it shouldn't matter whether someone's going fast, slow, or in between in front of me, just so I keep my mind focused on God. And that's where patience really comes in, where we can just sit back, hang back, and allow God to do what He's got to do. Sometimes if someone's going slow, it could be something happened up ahead to where we can actually be saved from a bad incident because we're going slower and we're going to miss it. So we got to look at patience as being something that maybe God is using to help us, even save us. We get through areas where they got slow speed limits like this, and sometimes people lose their patience and they want to go a little faster. Well, you go a little faster and you get caught and you get a ticket, and then you pay the fine. So there's that physical thing that we end up having to pay the consequences for. But in the spiritual, when we have impatience, we pay the consequence for that also. Because especially if we're like we are, on my motorcycle I have a cross on the rear fender. On our car we have a license plate surround that talks about the Lord. And when we go flying past someone or do something that isn't of God or isn't legal, we go and we're showing that person that's what Christians are like. We may be the only Christian they see that day, or maybe I've been the only one they see in a week or whatever. And if a lot of people are doing that, that's what they see Christians as. But if we go by, just do a regular slow pass the way we should, ride the way we should, drive the way we should, people will see that and they'll start getting a good sense of what Christians are instead of a bad sense. So our patience has a whole lot to do with our walk with the Lord. You know, when we can just slowly pass someone, wave or nod and acknowledge, thank you. I've had people actually just pull over for me so I can pass. So you give them a thank you. You let them know you're thankful, and that shows them who God is. Shows them who God is in you. Especially if you live in a small area like we do. Most people know everybody, and you can be driving along or riding along and do something wrong, do something silly that you shouldn't be doing, and people look and they go, I know that. I know who that is. They go to that church down there. Boy, they allow that? No. But that's who you represent. You're representing not only yourself, you're representing your family, you're representing your church, and most importantly, you're representing God. So we need to represent God in an awesome way. Whatever we're doing, wherever we are, whatever God has us doing at the time, represent God. Let people see it. Even though you're not able to talk to them, just your actions. I've said it many times in sermons that people watch. When someone says they're a Christian, people watch. They look out, and they're watching us all the time. A lot of people don't realize that. Our actions speak more than our words sometimes. And especially if we speak words about what we should be doing, and then we don't do that thing, and that person catches us doing wrong, then they'll think we're a bunch of hypocrites. And we don't want to represent God in a hypocritical way. We want to represent God in a good way. Show Him, or show everybody that we're living for God, that we're representing God for what He is and who He is. Not in the flesh, but in the Spirit. as we're going along, and today, the one day I decide to talk about it, so far I haven't had anyone in front of me to be the example of it. But you know what I'm talking about. You get behind people and you get impatient, and instead pray. We don't know. You don't know what they're going through. Maybe someone in their family died. Maybe someone got hurt. Maybe they're hurt. Maybe they're just older and they just can't drive as well anymore. We're all going to be in one of those situations someday, and we're going to be hoping and praying that whoever's behind us will understand. So we got to do the same ahead of time. Understand, not knowing what the situation is, but understand it, so that we can just go on and have peace in ourselves, knowing we did right, and give them a little extra peace without pushing them along, making them feel uncomfortable because we're getting so close to them. Well, anyway, have patience with me as I stop here to get gas, and then we'll move on a little bit from there, and we can talk a little bit more about it before I get back home and have to take care of a few things. So anyway, I'm gonna stop here now, fill up with my gas tank, and shut off the camera for a few minutes, and then we'll get back on and talking a little bit more about patience, and we'll go from there.